Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a struggle and just wondered, what is the point of all this? Well, today we're diving into a really powerful medieval text, the Dialogue of Divine Providence. And believe me, it tackles that exact question head-on, the purpose of suffering.
The entire book really hangs on this one single, provocative question. It just stops you in your tracks and makes you think, what if suffering isn't just random, meaningless chaos? What if it's actually for something?
And you might think this is some new age idea, but nope. We're heading all the way back to the 14th century. This text, written by Catherine of Siena, frames this universal struggle as a direct, really intimate conversation between a human soul and God.
So, how does a conversation like this even start? Well, it begins with a soul that isn't angry or bitter. Instead, it's filled with this deep, profound desire to just understand, to get to God's truth.
That starting point is so important. The text says the soul is filled with a great and longing desire. That desire is basically the engine for this whole thing. It's what pushes the soul past just trying to be good and towards seeking real, deep answers from the ultimate source.
And that seeking, it leads to the first major bombshell of the text. God's response to the soul completely flips the script on what we think suffering is all about.
Okay, so here's the core argument. In this dialogue, suffering is not some cosmic accident. It's not a punishment from an angry God. Instead, it's described as a very specific, purposeful tool. But a tool for what exactly?
The text makes this incredibly important distinction. Suffering isn't about paying a debt. It's a corrective tool. The point isn't to make you hurt. The point is to purify you, to kind of chip away at the imperfections, and ultimately, to bring your soul closer to God.
And to really hammer this point home, listen to this. God basically tells the soul, look, all the suffering in the entire world isn't enough to punish even one tiny fault. Why? Because an offense against something infinite requires an infinite payment. So, that just confirms it. Suffering's purpose has to be something else entirely.
All right, so if suffering is the tool, what's the force that's actually using it? This is where the dialogue introduces the next absolutely crucial element, infinite love.
And this right here, this is the key that unlocks the whole thing. The tool of suffering is pretty much useless on its own. It only gets its meaning when it's driven by love. The goal isn't just to grit your teeth and bear the pain. It's to let that experience transform you. And that transformation is fueled by this divine love.
So this combination of suffering and love actually creates a clear process, kind of a roadmap. The dialogue lays it out. First, you have to recognize your own faults. Step 2, you endure the pain that comes with that recognition. But step 3, this is the game changer. You actively transform that suffering through love, and that, according to the text, is the path to real wisdom and perfection.
Okay, so that's the internal journey, right? It's all very spiritual. But how does this actually work in the real world with, other people? Well, the dialogue pivots to something incredibly practical, our relationships.
And the text is so blunt about it. Virtue isn't something you just develop in a quiet room by yourself. Nope, it's forged, it's tested, it's proven in the messy reality of human interaction. Every single person you meet, especially the difficult ones, they become an opportunity.
And the logic here is just so direct. I mean, think about it. How can you say you have patience if no one ever gets on your nerves? How can you show you have mercy if you never run into cruelty? Or humility if you're never challenged by someone's pride? According to this text, other people, with all their baggage, are the very instruments God uses to help us perfect ourselves.
So when we're faced with these challenges from other people, we have a choice. It's like a fork in the road. We can go down the path of hatred, which leads to cruelty and just destroys our soul, or we can choose the path of love and see that other person not as an enemy, but as a tool for our own growth. Same event, two totally different outcomes for our soul.
And all these different threads we've been following, suffering as a tool, love as the motivation, and our neighbors as the testing ground, they all come together under one final, massive idea.
And that idea is divine providence. It's this concept of a master plan that is so huge and so loving that it can take everything, our pain, other people's mistakes, all the injustices, and weave them all together into something beautiful that guides our soul. In this view, absolutely nothing is wasted.
And in the end, it really all comes back to this.
The final message from God in this dialogue is that the ultimate test, the clearest expression of our love for the divine, is found in how we treat each other. It's simple as that. Our service to our neighbor is our service to God.
So this text from the 14th century leaves us with a really challenging thought. It suggests that real growth isn't about avoiding pain, but about embracing it, transforming it with love, and using it to connect more deeply with the people around us. It asks us to think about a paradox, that maybe, just maybe, our greatest strength isn't found in being perfect, but in how we learn to handle our own imperfections.